Hey everyone, my name is Mason, and welcome back to Mason Zero MTG. M19 recently came out, and I've been thinking about what cards I want for my cubes. I'll be giving a top 5 list both for a more powerful cube and for a Pauper cube. This set is a little different than a lot of other recent sets because there are a ton of reprints. There don't appear to be any rarity shifts that add anything to Pauper cubes, so I won't be looking at reprints for this list. I'll only be talking about the new cards. As a disclaimer, I should probably say that my main cube is relatively budget and is being expanded upon as time goes on. There are pretty much no cards over about $25, but there are a lot of powerful cards nonetheless. I also have a special affinity for cards that have unique or interesting effects, but I've tried to tailor this list to include cards that I think more people would want in their cube. I'll start with my top 5 cards for a primary cube. I do have one honorable mention, which is Heroic Reinforcements. I really like this card, but I think it will only make the cut in lower power cubes and peasant cubes. I think compared to the other red-white cards in my cube and most people's, this card does not do too much, but creating 2 tokens and giving everything +1/+1 can allow you to swing in for a huge amount of damage in a tokens deck. This may be one to experiment with. At number 5, I have Mirror Image. This is a 3-mana clone that can only copy creatures you control. This card won't be for everything, but it has its place. It competes with Clever Impersonator, which can copy any non-land permanent for 4 mana, and with Phantasmal Image, which costs 2 mana but dies upon being targeted, but can copy any creature on the battlefield. Mirror Image fits in a middle ground, where it requires you to have a creature, but is less likely to be blown out. This could be a potential include for an aggressive blue deck, or as an additional clone effect for that color. At number 4, I've put Tezzeret Artifice Master. However, in a cube that features Tribal, I think that Liliana and Sarkhan could be good in this spot as well. However, Tezzeret cares about artifacts, and your cube most likely has plenty of those. It is also in blue, a color that often cares about artifacts. While his first ability to create Thopter tokens is not incredible, his 0 ability can get you 2 cards per turn as long as you're able to protect him in an artifact deck. He is competing with a lot of powerful Jace planeswalkers, however, so he probably will not make the cut in that many cubes. For number 3, I have Runic Armasaur. Green card draw is always great, and in this case it comes attached to a great 2/5 body. You draw a card whenever an opponent activates a non-mana ability of a creature or land. If you have a more powerful cube that has fetch lands, this gets even better, but there are also plenty of other great creatures and lands in cube that have activated abilities. Mother of Runes, Royal Assassin, Grim Lavamancer, and Walking Ballista are all cards that your opponent will want to activate as much as possible, but when they do, you'll be drawing cards. My number 2 is Resplendent Angel. This card seems like a powerhouse. It is already a 3/3 flyer for 3 mana in white, but it has the ability to make angel tokens if you gained 5 life in a turn. While it can pump itself up to gain enough life, this belongs in a cube that has a life gain theme or a critical mass of white lifelink creatures. While it has a pretty good rate, I don't think it is impressive enough on its own to make it into many cubes that don't have life gain as a theme. In the right deck though, this will be a powerful 3-drop. At number 1, I have a card I am personally very excited for, and that is Dark-Oveller Oracle. It is already a 2/2 for 2 mana, and it also allows you to pay 1 and sacrifice a creature to exile the top card of your library and play it until end of turn. This is the impulsive draw that we are used to in red, but it's repeatable. As long as you have mana up and creatures to sacrifice, you can keep exiling cards. It also allows you to play lands off of this ability. This card is an obvious replacement for Abbot of Carol Keep. The Abbot has prowess and only gives you the impulsive draw upon entering the battlefield. The main drawback of this card has always been that playing it on curve means you don't get to use the card you exile. With Dark-Oveller Oracle, you can gain access to that card at any time you want and still cast the creature on turn 2. It doesn't attack as well, but that might be a great trade-off for being able to access more cards in your deck. Sacrificing creatures is also great in red. Red makes a lot of goblin tokens that will be great fodder for sacrifice, and when paired with black, you can get back a lot of non-token creatures you choose to sacrifice. Finally, it has the bonus of being a goblin, which means it fits nicely into tribal cubes and alongside cards like Goblin Rabblemaster. Now on to Pauper. My Pauper cube does have archetypes, but I prefer to put in generally powerful commons rather than only cards that support the archetypes. My choices here strictly reflect power level rather than synergy. There were surprisingly a lot of interesting cards at common that Pauper cubers may be interested in trying out. I'll start out with another honorable mention, which is Hired Blade. It is the only common black creature other than Drudge Reavers from Time Spiral to have flash. While this card is nothing flashy, a black creature with flash may be interesting enough for you to include it. At number 5, I have Elvish Rejuvenator. This is not the most impressive creature as a 1/1 for 3, but you do get to look at the top 5 cards of your library and put a land onto the battlefield. The upside of this card is that you can get a non-basic land off of it. The non-basics in Pauper are not generally something to write home about, but it's a nice upside. This could be an interesting alternative to other elves that search for a basic land if you're interested in the non-basic land aspect. For number 4, I have Gallant Cavalry. This is a 2/2 that comes with another 2/2. Being on a creature instead of a sorcery or instant is also great because it can potentially be reanimated, flickered, or interacted with by other cards that care about creatures. There isn't much to say here, but this creature has a great rate and is a great higher end for a white deck. At number 3, I have Aviation Pioneer. This is another creature that brings a creature token with it, which is always fantastic. This token just happens to fly, which is even more upside. A lot of the best Thopter token makers are at uncommon, but this cheap blue creature is essentially the blue version of Ghirapur Gearcrafter. However, blue getting more flyers is always great. For number 2, we have Sovereign's Bite. This is kind of a black lightning helix that only hits players. It costs 2 mana. Making a 6-life swing can be very impactful for only 2 mana, and in a black deck may be able to greatly sway the game in your favor. This seems like a powerful common that blurs the line between almost being an uncommon. This card is reminiscent of Lightning Helix and Essence Extraction, except that it can't hit creatures. This may be a deal breaker for some cube builders, but will certainly find its way into some Pauper cubes. At number 1, I have Cavalry Drillmaster. I think this card works great in white aggro decks. As a 2-drop, it can follow up a 2/1 1-drop creature and have it attack for 4 with First Strike, getting through a big chunk of damage on turn 2. If your Pauper cube runs a white blink theme, then this card only gets better. It's a cheap creature that is probably relevant at all stages of the game. Thank you so much for watching my top 5 M19 cards for both regular and Pauper cubes. I hope this list helps you decide what cards to put in yours. If you disagree with my choices, please let me know. I would be happy to hear what cards you plan on putting into your various cubes. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want, and I will see you all in the next video on Mason Zero MTG.